Angeles Rams.
Wow.
It was a good meeting this morning. Mcafee and Matthew Stafford, we assume, and Les Snead as well, met with Matthew this morning in their facility. Who knows what was discussed? Who knows what the deal will be at this exact moment? But what appears to be a statement of, yup, from the Los Angeles Rams is Matthew Stafford staying in L.A.
Rapp is reporting that he ends up taking less than he would have gotten elsewhere to stay with the Rams.
Okay, so we thought that was certainly going to be something that happens. Hometown discount's a real thing, especially at this stage of life. His family has their friend group. He already has everything kind of sorted. His resume's already in place. So to pick up, uproot, and head elsewhere was going to cost some money. I assume the Rams knew that, which might be why they offered him a low deal to begin with. They offer him a low deal and say, all right, if you want to go see somewhere else, and then they find out what the market is, and then they're able to make what is considered a fair deal to keep him around. Yeah. Is that how you view it?
Yeah, I think what they did was they said, look, we don't agree. Why don't you go see what your market is and come back to us? And literally, because we're not in free agency, he had to come back to him.
Yeah.
Right? And so this wasn't the Joe Shame where Joe had, really was in free agency. So, then he comes back, and now all of a sudden, do you move? Do I take $10 million less to stay here, and I have to move? And by the time you add everything up, and I think from the Rams' point of view is it gave them time to say, okay, where do we get our next quarterback from? Is it Stetson Bennett? Is it somebody else? Where do we go from here? And I think, look, they got the ball on the 13-yard line. They were the only game that
against the Eagles, yeah.
The only tough playoff game. Let's be clear. The only tough playoff game against the Eagles had was that game. And if they don't blow two protections, where they don't block Jalen Carter for some reason and some why, he's throwing the ball in the end zone.
And that guy's special, he just threw to there, Puka, and obviously Cooper is going to be gone, but Sean McVay, we assume in his offense, is going to be able to move the rock. The offense, too, already, which is another added thing about the money going elsewhere. New offense, new system, new home, new life, new everything, new question marks, probably new gripes about things that are happening in that building. That's a lot of new. So in his eyes, he thought it was going to have to be very, very expensive, and I think he thinks he should get paid because of how he's been playing football, and absolutely go ahead and do that. So I'll be excited to hear.
And he stayed healthy, which is key, right? I mean, this has been the key for Matthew is to stay healthy.
Durable.
Right, durable. I mean, nobody throws the ball better than he does. He still can throw the hell out of the ball, and the teams that were interested in him need a quarterback.
Okay, so now that's the domino that falls. The Los Angeles Rams are sticking with Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is off the board. Now we got the Raiders, the Giants, the Steelers. Put the draft board up. We got the number 1 overall team with the Titans, who's their quarterback going to be. You got the number 3 overall pick with the Giants. Who's their quarterback going to be? You got the number 2 overall pick with the Browns. They're going to draft a young quarterback, could draft a young quarterback. Titans could draft a young quarterback. It would make sense. Giants would draft a young quarterback. Would make sense. Yeah. Patriots locked in. Jags locked in. Raiders could draft a young quarterback. Jets could draft young quarterback. So now is everybody's, and you go all the way through there. The Saints, Derek Carr last year, could, if they weren't so. They allegedly met with Cam Ward. Niners good, Cowboys good, Dolphins good, Colts could draft young quarterback. I mean, there is a lot of teams that could draft a quarterback. Now that Matthew Stafford is staying with the Rams, if he would have won to any of those teams, obviously that changes the math a little bit. But a lot of teams need quarterback. How do you view that? That's the position.
I think if I'm Sam Darnold, I'm pretty happy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I think Sam Darnold's marketability just went up a little bit more, even though I'm sure he has a lot of teams after him. Because who else are the Giants? Who else are you going to call? Who else is out there that you feel like you can watch a tape and say this guy did a hell of a job? You can say, well, his Jet tape wasn't good, but that was a lifetime ago, right?
And speaking of Jet tape, not good. Aaron Rodgers, we don't know what he's going to be doing. Is he retiring? Is he coming back and playing? Our sources have told us that he's out of the country, and we'll be on, I believe, the program next week. So I assume we'll learn a little bit more there. But he's potentially in the market as well currently. Kirk Cousins potentially in the market yet again. There is a chance that he is going to be out there. So a lot of these veteran quarterbacks, Kirk
Cousins will be interesting because he's going to get paid by the Falcons. So he's a little bit like the Russell Wilson situation. So he's going to be an economic value for a team that thinks he still has something left in him.
All right, Lombo, we're going to slide you a little bit to your right. Get figured out today. Today we will know what is going on with Matthew. Does that mean during our show? Does that mean later tonight? Who knows? But what's happening with Matthew allegedly cooking as we speak over there in Los Angeles?
Well, you mentioned it. I mean, everything hinges on this. We really can't move any other chess pieces until this gets done. And it kind of sounds like, I mean, if nothing gets done with the Rams, something is in place with the Raiders. Now, granted, there's still pieces that need to be moved around, but you wonder, if he does go to the Raiders, is that one of those things where, hey, he's going to bring Cooper Kupp with him, and he maybe brings a couple other guys with him, because we already know that the Rams are going to move on from Cooper Kupp. Now, obviously, I think the Rams give him the best chance to win in the interim, but who's to say? I mean, the Raiders haven't had a quarterback in years. That's kind of this is a new Raiders team.
Rich Gannon.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that was the last guy worth of shit, kind of at quarterback.
Well, speaking of Derek Carr, allegedly going to be the Saints quarterback going forward.
Exactly.
Great player.
He was great, but obviously didn't have the type of success. So it does kind of feel like Matthew Stafford, he might be one of those guys where if he goes to the Raiders, who's to say that he doesn't turn them around, right away? Obviously, we know the Rams want him back. It's all about the money at this point, but we'll see what happens. You get a couple suitors out there kind of tickling your taint, and maybe you don't decide, hey, I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, there is a chance that happens, Conrad.
Oh, yeah, it's very plausible. And it also sets the draft. Like when you're looking at those top 4 picks, two of the teams you just mentioned, the Browns and the Giants, they're both in the top 3. And those are kind of the quarterback needy teams still. And, with the Raiders, you would think, sure, they could go get Stafford and they can get Kupp. But I wouldn't rule out them even drafting a quarterback after that, because Brady is probably one of the loudest guys of, hey, sitting behind someone and learning and being able to see that. Obviously, him and Bledsoe, Rodgers, and there's been guys who haven't done that and have had a ton of success, Jaden Daniels, but it feels like that is kind of the most for sure way to get your rookie quarterback to become great immediately. And then, that would set up some of the other teams as well. And the Browns, you would assume no matter what at 2 are going to take a quarterback, just because that number 2 pick has just been the, definitely going to be a guy. If you have the number 2 pick and you take a quarterback,
let the number 1 team do their thing.
Go ahead.
You guys decide.
Hands off.
Okay,
at number 2, whatever quarterback you take, history tells us in the last 2 years they are going to be unbelievable immediately. But really, Stafford is going to make so many massive, decisions for other teams based on where he goes and with this upcoming draft.
And the Las Vegas Raiders, obviously they're looking at a quarterback, need a quarterback. Talked to Chip Kelly yesterday. Chip Kelly said, I literally read out here, I said, you guys need a quarterback, right? And he goes, every team needs a quarterback. And I'm like, okay, Chip.
That's not true.
Okay, no. But he's saying,
technically, yes, every team needs a quarterback.
But all right now.
He was literally like just being like, I need a quarterback to play football, And he said, you want to play quarterback for us? I'm like, Chip Kelly offense?
Hold on.
Sure.
Are you going to be calling that, that entirety? I think the fascinating situation with the Raiders, and you brought it up there, all the OG quarterbacks are like, we're rushing these guys in here. We're rushing these guys in here. We're giving these guys no chance at all. Now Tom Brady, who everybody at the Combine has basically said very active. Tom Brady has been very active in being the owner of the Raiders. Tom Brady has been very active in like, hey, not only my investment, but also if I'm associated with this place, I would like it to do well. I would like it to go well. Now, he just so happened to be skiing in Montana. At the same exact time, Matthew Stafford was skiing in Montana. They're both incredibly wealthy, got the same houses, or got houses in the same community out there in Montana, and they just so happen to be there. And that is that's kind of what's being reported by one particular party of the Starbucks scuffle, and on the other side of the Starbucks stare down is saying, do you think they just so happen to be in the same town in Montana at the same exact time in this time frame where one is wondering what the future looks like and the other is needing that exact person? That's what Schultz is saying. NFL Network's saying they just so happen, hey, happenstance. This happens with rich people all the time.
Right.
And Schultz goes, I know. I've grown up in the rich world, but there is always, so that has been an argument. But I think what hasn't been said is that they didn't meet when he was out there, that they didn't go skiing together whenever they were out there. And that kind of falls in line with everything we're hearing about Tom Brady as the owner. Whenever the head coach interview was happening with Pete Carroll, who was running the interview? Tom Brady. Whenever every other interview was happening around the building, who was running the interview? Tom Brady. General manager think Tom Brady. Now, I would assume Tom Brady is very much involved in who's going to be our quarterback. And I think that is why whenever PFT and Florio reports like, hey, there's common ground in Vegas, it's like, yeah, because Tom Brady's quarterback understands understands the quarterback situation, understands exactly where Matthew Stafford is whenever he went down to Tampa.
He's going to bring Cooper Kupp with him, and he maybe brings a couple other guys with him because we already know that the Rams are going to move on from Cooper Kupp. Now, obviously, I think the Rams give him the best chance to win in the interim, but who's to say? I mean, the Raiders haven't had a quarterback in years. That's kind of what, I mean, this is a new Raiders team.
Rich Gannon.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, that was the last guy worth of shit, kind of at quarterback.
Well, speaking of Derek Carr, allegedly going to be the Saints quarterback going forward.
Exactly.
Great player.
He was great, but obviously didn't have the type of success. So it does kind of feel like Matthew Stafford, he might be one of those guys where if he goes to the Raiders, who's to say that he doesn't turn them around, right away? Obviously, we know the Rams want him back. It's all about the money at this point, but we'll see what happens. You get a couple suitors out there kind of tickling your taint, and maybe you don't decide, hey, I want to go somewhere else.
Yeah, there is a chance that happens, Conrad.
Oh, yeah, it's very plausible.
Matthew Stafford's future with the Los Angeles Rams appears to be solidified following a crucial meeting between the veteran quarterback, head coach Sean McVay, and presumably general manager Les Snead. While the exact details of the discussions remain undisclosed, the overarching message from the Rams front office seems clear. Stafford is staying in Los Angeles. Reports indicate that the 36-year-old signal caller has agreed to take less money than he might have commanded elsewhere, a move that underscores both his commitment to the franchise and the realities of the current quarterback market. The notion of a hometown discount is often debated in professional sports, but in Stafford's case, it makes sense. At this stage of his career, uprooting his family and leaving a familiar system for an entirely new situation, new teammates, new coaches, new expectations, would have come at a significant cost, both financially and personally. The Rams, fully aware of this, likely approach negotiations strategically. Instead of immediately offering a top-tier deal, they allowed Stafford to gauge his market value, knowing that any potential move would require a substantial offer from another team. Ultimately, the process led both sides back to the negotiating table, resulting in what is now considered a fair deal to retain the former Super Bowl champion. From the Rams' perspective, this decision buys them critical time to assess the future of the quarterback position. Is Stetson Bennett the long-term solution? Will they explore options in upcoming drafts? These questions remain unanswered, but for now, they have stability under center. Stafford, when healthy, remains one of the most gifted passers in the league. His ability to deliver the football with precision and power has never been in question. The Rams' playoff performance last season, particularly against the Eagles, showcased how dangerous they can be when Stafford is on the field, even if key protection breakdowns ultimately cost them. The rapport between Stafford and emerging star Puka Nacua was evident. And while Cooper Kupp's future with the team is uncertain, McVay's offensive system has historically thrived regardless of personnel turnover. Stafford's decision to stay in Los Angeles sends ripples throughout the league, particularly in a quarterback market that remains fluid. With Stafford off the board, teams like the Raiders, Giants, Steelers, and Titans must now recalibrate their plans. The upcoming draft takes on even greater importance, with multiple franchises still in search of their next franchise quarterback. The Titans, holding the number 1 overall pick, could select their quarterback of the future. The Giants, at number 3, are in a similar position. The Browns, selecting second, could also go in that direction, while teams like the Patriots, Jaguars, and Jets appear set at the position. However, the Raiders remain a wild card, with their quarterback situation still unresolved. The veteran quarterback market is equally intriguing. Sam Darnold, for example, suddenly finds himself in a more favorable position. With Stafford staying put, Darnold's appeal as a potential bridge quarterback has likely increased. Meanwhile, the futures of Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins remain uncertain. Rodgers, currently out of the country, has yet to make a definitive statement regarding his plans. Cousins, on the other hand, could be on the move once again, with the Falcons rumored to be a potential landing spot. His situation bears some resemblance to that of Russell Wilson last offseason, an established veteran who could provide immediate value to a team looking for stability. The Stafford decision also impacts the overall draft strategy for multiple teams. The Browns and Giants, both selected within the top 3, are now in position where they could dictate how the first round unfolds. The Raiders, even if they pursue a veteran, may still opt to draft a quarterback as a long-term investment. The Brady effect in Las Vegas looms large, as the legendary quarterback-turned-minority owner remains an active figure in the organization's decision-making process. His influence was evident in the head coaching search, and it's reasonable to assume he will have a say in who lines up under center for the Raiders next season. Reports have surfaced that Stafford and Brady were both in Montana recently, adding yet another layer of intrigue. Was it purely coincidence, or was there something more to it? As the league-wide quarterback carousel continues to spin, one thing is clear. Matthew Stafford's commitment to Rams has set the stage for a cascade of moves across the NFL. With free agency and the draft looming, teams must now pivot accordingly. The decisions made in the coming weeks will shape the landscape of the league for years to come. But for now, the Rams can rest easy knowing they have their quarterback in place.